Welcome back, you filthy exiles. One of the questions that I noticed people had was, well, what happens to PoE 1 when PoE 2 comes out? And this was a bit of a recap series that I wanted to do. For anyone who didn't sort of check out the stuff from the last Exilecon in 2019, there was a pretty much a big cover off on what happens to PoE 1 when PoE 2 comes out. Will it be discarded? Will it be thrown in the bin? Or do we just forget about it and put it on the shelf? Funnily enough, it's a little more interesting than that. So let's watch this together and you'll see just exactly what's going to happen. And it'll be surprising to see that, knowing GGG, the position that they're taking moving forwards, or at least 4 years ago, was actually pretty surprising and freaking awesome. So let's watch the explanation of what happens to PoE 1 when PoE 2 comes out.
When we finished developing 3.0, we knew that we couldn't extend Path of Exile's campaign forever. Adding more acts would make the game just too long before players got to maps. At the same time, we knew we really needed to bring the quality of Path of Exile's campaign up to a 2019 standard. We realized that we needed to make a new campaign. For years now, we've been wanting to make a sequel to Path of Exile. The problem with that, though, is that sequels split a community between two products. It's also hard for a sequel to compete with the amount of content and features that the original game has. We've just spent 6 years making expansions for Path of Exile, so imagine if we released a Path of Exile 2 and it was just a bare campaign with none of that extra content. This would be a sad shell of an action RPG compared to the current state of Path of Exile. It'd have none of the years of expansion content and improvements that make the game great. So we're creating Path of Exile 2 as a new campaign alongside Path of Exile 1 with a shared endgame. The original campaign is still fully playable, and because it's the same game, it'll still continue to be maintained with all of the updates and game system improvements that we'll make to Path of Exile.
So basically, PoE 1 is just going to become part of PoE 2, which that's the sort of sum up there, which is absolutely insane because you think about the amount of content that's come out since this originally was announced, and this was like 3-4 years ago. So we're going to get all of that content crammed into PoE 2 plus all the new content that comes with PoE 2, but there's more on this too.
When we add new skills to the game, you'll be able to play with them in either the Path of Exile 1 or Path of Exile 2 campaign. And all of the microtransactions and stash tabs that you've purchased in the past will be fully usable regardless of which campaign that you're playing.
And that's the best part. So any money that you've put into the game in all the amount of time that the game's been around, you get to keep everything that you've bought. All the MTXs, all the limited edition MTXs, it might be in the Regal Rowers from, originally when the game was first announced, or the Kiwi Pets or the Corpse Devourer from the last Exilecon if you went. So all that stuff is going to be able to be retained, and you're going to have access to all your League MTXs, everything that you've unlocked over all the years that you've been playing. Basically, the most good guy act that a game dev could do would be to let you have everything you've purchased up to this date and then continue to do so into the future.
Most importantly, all of your favorite Path of Exile expansion content like Delve, Breach, Incursion, and Legion will be...
Especially Delve. That's the one that I'm excited about. Obviously, Delve is the best part of PoE.
fully integrated. At the same time, we wanted the freedom to make all of the changes that a true sequel requires, like changing the skill system, all of the ascendancy classes, improving the engine, and a lot of other things that we aren't announcing this weekend. Path of Exile 2 addresses all of the things that we feel are deficiencies in Path of Exile 1.
So my understanding from when I was at Exilecon sitting through the sessions around the ascendancies is they were going to tack on just double the amount of ascendancies. So each class would have 6 ascendancies moving forwards, and you could play that in either the PoE 1 campaign or the PoE 2 campaign, which I think PoE 2 is going to be 7 acts and the original PoE 1 campaign is 10 acts, so you could make the choice between whichever one you wanted to level up or whichever one you felt was quickest to sort of progress to that endgame.
We're not abandoning the Path of Exile 1 campaign, though. Not only is it still fully supported in Path of Exile 4.0, we're doing a lot of work to get it up to a 2019 standard. Here's what Act 1 Town looks like in 3.9, which we're releasing in 4 weeks. We're also going through the campaign and we're improving materials to work with our new physically based rendering pipeline. Over the next year, you're going to see a lot of improvements to the Path of Exile 1 campaign, which will be deployed ahead of 4.0 with a 3.9 series of patches. We're also re-rigging all the old character classes to work with the new 4.0 animations, so you'll get all of the ongoing animation improvements in the old Path of Exile 1 campaign as well. In the next year, we're going to continue to deliver 4 amazing leagues on a regular 3-month cycle.
So this is sort of dragged out a little now, obviously, because PoE 2 has been in development for a lot longer, and actually thankfully so, because it just means that what we're probably going to see in the next 40 days is going to be absolutely ridiculous based on the trailers that have just been released.
All of this content is designed with the Path of Exile 2 campaign in mind, and we'll continue to fold it into the game as needed, like we would with any other league. We don't have a firm release date for Path of Exile 2 yet, and are absolutely going to wait until it's ready before releasing it.
And that's the one thing that I respect the most here too, is that they didn't rush into this game. They pretty much went, okay, we're going to take the time that we need, and they have done exactly that. It's been years, obviously, since this, and they've continued to dev it in the background. We haven't seen a great deal from it, but the plus side is we know, at least with the company that's at the helm here, and the fact that they do have a tradition of high quality and a community focus, that the product that we're going to get at the end of the day is going to be really good.
We're planning on waiting at least another year with 3.9 expansions before the beta of 4.0, though.
Which didn't happen, but, you know, shit happens.
So, I'm sure you're wanting to see some 4.0 gameplay.
And that's on another video, and we'll do some other recaps further down the, I guess, the next week or so. Moral of the story, so if you were keen to see what was going to happen, or you didn't know this content existed on YouTube or whatever, PoE 1 at this stage that we know of is going to be folded into PoE 2, and it's going to just be one big monolithic game of awesomeness, and you're going to have access to everything that, you know, you previously would have had access to in PoE 1. But anyway, I'm going to do some more recap videos and sort of break these down in like 5, 6, 7 minute intervals so that it's more sort of bite-sized pieces answering some of the questions that people have about, well, what do we know about PoE so far? But anyway, that's what's happening in PoE 1. If you like this sort of content, drop me a like, drop me a sub. And yeah, hopefully we see, well, it's pretty obvious we're going to see a lot of PoE 2 stuff coming out in the next like month and a half or so, and definitely at Exilecon. But until then, have a good one, and bye.